All right, y'all, welcome back to Tailored Health Tips. This is tip number 4, cutting out processed foods. So in that journey, once I understood that diet was key and I understood the components of diets that I had to work on, the very first one I worked on was processed foods. The thing that scared me into prioritizing cutting out processed foods was understanding that the food industry and the food manufacturers are using chemicals and things that our bodies don't naturally know what to do with to make the foods that we end up like loving. And what they've done very well is they've studied how our taste buds work, and they're using the lab and chemicals to basically trick our taste buds into craving what we buy when we buy processed foods. And more importantly, with things like snacks and chips, they've designed them to a level of, what's the best way to put this, to a level of effectiveness where when we eat these snacks, we just have a craving for more and more of them, because they reward the centers in our brains that had like that release chemicals like serotonin, and then we therefore want to have more and more of certain snacks, right? And especially the chips and snacks, the way they're even manufactured, the way they sound, like when we crunch them, all of that has been studied, and it's been packaged in such a way that when you eat processed foods, you just want to keep eating them more and more and more and more. So I became very focused on just going cold turkey. So I had a conversation with Gilbert and Claudina where we spoke about this, and also with Winnie, where we were clear that my diet was going to change. So I wanted the kids to be aware of why I was doing it, because if my diet changed, that implied that their diet was going to be affected as well. So processed foods, one of the difficulties is Claudina has picked up my habit of having these sandwiches. I described to you in the last video how I would make these sandwiches with, the slices of ham, slices of salami, slices of pepperoni, cheese, and then put all of that on the Thomas's cinnamon raisin bagels, right, toasted. So she also developed that habit of wanting to have those types of sandwiches, and that's mainly what she used to take for lunch. So I had the conversation with her and explained to her that, well, those meats, the way that they're made and the way that they're processed and the type of chemicals that are placed on them is actually not healthy, one. And then B, in my case, clearly that combination was contributing to the beer belly, which also is not healthy. So I needed to stop doing that. And to her credit, she also stopped making these sandwiches, and now would take for lunch the natural foods that we would make, and she would take that with her for her lunch. And Gilbert does the same thing. So processed foods, you have to wrap your arms around like how much of processed foods is part of your diet if you're trying to lose a beer belly, if you're a guy trying to lose a beer belly, because as I've shared earlier, I know it's different for women, like what must be done. And in my case, once I wrapped my arms around what I needed to do, I just decided to get rid of all kinds of processed foods. So whether they were the snacks, whether they were the cold cuts, and certainly whether they were the manufactured bagels. And then one of the things that is quite scary about processed foods is many of us are used to eating bread, and the way bread is made, especially in the US, it's not natural. Like if you read the ingredients list of any bread that you try to buy, even from healthy food stores like Whole Foods and Sprouts here in Texas, it's very rare that you see only like a few ingredients, like 5 or less. You see all these added ingredients, all this extra chemicals, and apparently the way bread is made more or less so it can last long, and the nutritional value is very suspect. And I'm not going to get into conversations or debate here about wheat and whether you should eat wheat and gluten and those types of things. I'm not qualified as a nutritionist, so I don't want to enter that quagmire. But for me, what I knew is that once I understood that our food is made and is made in such a way that is not natural, and that the body doesn't naturally, well, the body doesn't know really what to do with many of the things that are in the processed foods that we eat. In my case, I cut it out, and it certainly helped me to get rid of my bare belly. How about you? For those of you that are on a similar journey, what have you found to be helpful when it comes to foods? Did you cut out processed foods, or did you do something different? Drop me a comment, let me know. If you've liked the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you think someone else will benefit from the video, share it with them. If you would like to be notified when I release the next video in this series, click that notification bell. All right, y'all. See you soon.